As senior lawyers gather today at the Supreme Court, 23rd October 2023, to hear the appeal filed by Atiku of PDP and Peter Obi of the Labour Party, and of course the APM, Allied People's Party, challenging the verdict of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal Court, which of course was headed by Justice Haruna Sumami, that upheld that Bola Ahmed Tinubu of the APC was indeed the authentic winner of the 25th February 2023 presidential election. Nigerians have waited with bated breath as suspense and palpable tension have engulfed the country as to the outcome of the final verdict of the Supreme Court judgment on this appeal. At the court today, Atiku Abubakar of PDP has an array of very senior lawyers like Mike Azokome San, Chris Uche, and of course the APC Tinubu legal team headed by Chief Wole Olanipekun Sand, and that of Peter Obi of Labour, which is led by Levi Uzo-Oku, also San. In fact, the court today was electric by the presence of these very senior lawyers and other dignitaries that were present at the Supreme Court today, where the APC National Chairman Abdullahi Ganduje, the National Security Advisor Nuri Ribado, the Chief of Staff to the President, and the Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila. They were all there today at the Supreme Court hearing and the appeal filed by Atiku Abubakar of the PDP, Peter Obi of the Labour Party, and of course the Allied People's Movement and the APM. The Supreme Court had reserved judgment to a yet to be disclosed date, and people are already chanting that, assuming Bola Ahmed Tinubu's election is nullified by the Supreme Court, the third in command in the political structure, of course, who is the Senate president, constitutionally assumed the office, temporarily assumed the office of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, pending when there's going to be a rerun election. Should, of course, all this is just in the realm of speculation, in the event of a nullification of the election of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu by the Supreme Court. So the Senate president should be warming up. Of course, speculations. Just have to await the Supreme Court judgment, since he had to reserve his judgment at a later date. Welcome to my channel, Shini's Digest. I welcome on board my new subscribers as I continue to appreciate my returning subscribers. This is the channel where we get to speak out and say it as it is. So today's topic, we are looking at the 2023 presidential election, as a petitioner has withdrawn his case against Tinubu at the Supreme Court. I know so many people will be asking, now that a petitioner yet to be mentioned, of course, as you continue watching this video, the name will be mentioned, has withdrawn its suit against the president, challenging the verdict of the 2023 presidential election. So one down, two more to go. Is there a possibility that Atiku of the PDP and Peter Obi of Labour follow suit and drop their case against President Bola Ahmed Tinubu? Of course, continue watching the video where you get to find out if indeed this is likely to happen. And the panel of 7 justices headed by Justice Okoro, of course, is going to, preside and determine, this appeal by Atiku Abubakar of PDP, Peter Obi of Labour, and of course the APM of the Allied People's Party, to determine whether indeed the Presidential Election Tribunal, verdict that of course declared Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the winner of the 25th February 2023 presidential election was indeed validly elected as declared by INEC. So Supreme Court had set today and 23rd October for hearing on the appeal, as Atiku had praised the court to nullify the verdict of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal that affirmed Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the authentic winner of that election as declared by INEC. Atiku and other appellants have submitted that the findings of the Presidential Election Tribunal, verdict that of course declared Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the winner of the election was laden with grave errors and gross misrepresentation, which they say of course resulted in miscarriage of justice. So Atiku had prayed Supreme Court to grant him leave to file fresh evidence, apparently referring to Tinubu's Chicago State University academic records. He secured a judgment, from Judge Nancy Maldonado of the District Court of Illinois, United States, and of the deposition of the CSU's registrar, Caleb Westbeck. However, some lawyers have argued and referred to relevant laws regarding the grantability of admitting such fresh evidence by the Supreme Court, that the Supreme Court may likely not allow new evidence to be admitted, because at this point the Supreme Court is only focused on the evidence and judgment of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, which of course declared Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the authentic winner of the 25th February 2023 presidential election. So they're just saying that the Supreme Court might not admit new evidence, that it is, if such evidence was not actually presented during the Election Petition Tribunal, that it is very unlikely that the Supreme Court would grant Atiku his prayer to file in fresh evidence. Most people are at this point are actually saying that, so if Atiku is unable, or the Supreme Court trashes Atiku's prayer, so that that new fresh evidence should be admitted, then they're just saying that Atiku must have embarked on a fishing expedition, on a wild goose chase. All his efforts and everything that is trying to gather more evidence to ensure that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is nullified by the Supreme Court must have come to naught, resulted to wasted resources. Of course, we all know the enormous resources Atiku Abubakar would have plunged into this particular finding to ensure that more fresh evidence that apparently that he didn't present during the Presidential Petition Tribunal court. Then perhaps this one, he feels that if he presents this particular evidence, which he says is very weighty, grave and constitutional, that of course this will finally nullify the declaration of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But of course, we have to wait and see how this plays out. Atiku's lawyers have actually disagreed with these assertions and had urged the Supreme Court to admit this new evidence against Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, which of course they say this new evidence is very weighty, grave, and of course constitutional. Although the Supreme Court, on hearing the case today, has queried that which of the letters, apparently the Supreme Court has received two contradictory letters, conflicting letters. So the Supreme Court is now querying that which of the letters is the Supreme Court going to rely on. That there are two conflicting letters from the Chicago State University in President Bola Tinubu's certificate. And so Justice Okoro, who is of course heading the panel of 7 justices that of course will finally determine and decide this case. There is a criminal matter that indeed Asiwaju Bola Tinubu forged his academic record, that he has to, prove beyond every reasonable doubt that indeed there was a criminal or there is a criminal matter in the case. Meanwhile, the Allied People's Movement Party that appealed against the election of President Bola Tinubu, there was a mild drama in the courts today. Apparently, this appellant, APM, noticing that its appeal lacked, merits, already applied to withdraw the case, challenging the nomination of President Bola Tinubu to even run for the election because of the double nomination of the Vice President Kashim Shettima, because they had argued that the Vice President had to run for Senate and again nominated to be the Vice Presidential candidate of Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, which of course they eventually won the election. So they are contesting that because of the double nominations of the vice presidential candidate of Tinubu, so that automatically has disqualified Bola Tinubu to even present himself to run for the election. But the courts, before he could even withdraw the case, Supreme Court already come out to trash the case for lacking in merit, citing that this same matter was already dealt with sometime in recent past between PDP and INEC, that which the court stated clearly that Kashim Shettima was duly and properly elected, and that such appeal lacked utilitarian value, having realized that its own case lacked merit. He hurriedly, applied to withdraw the case, but before he could do that, Supreme Court already thrown out the case for lacking in merit. So now that APM had dramatically withdrawn its case against, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, will Atiku and Peter Obi follow suit? Of course, only time will tell as we await Supreme Court's appeal reserved judgment at a later date. So this is where I draw the curtain for today. Thank you for always finding the time to watch my video. If you like the content of this video, please do give it a thumbs up. Strike on that notification bell so that you get to be notified whenever I upload a content like this. Leave your comments down below and do not forget to subscribe to this channel. Stay awesome. See you pretty soon. Peace as always. Out.